Picture a crime scene. Your only witness is telling a story that makes absolutely no sense and, well, the victim can't speak at all. So how in the world do you find the truth? Today, we are diving deep into two of the most mysterious sources of evidence there are: the human mind and the human body. I mean, this is the big question, right? This is at the heart of our entire investigation today. We're going to explore how forensic psychologists have to navigate the maze of the human mind, and how forensic pathologists learn to read the secrets a body holds long after it's gone silent. So let's start with the mind.
So our first stop is inside the human mind. When mental illness gets tangled up in a legal case, the stakes just couldn't be higher. And the challenge for the legal system? It's huge. They have to somehow separate genuine psychological distress from a very clever and calculated lie.
Okay, so take a look at this. This table lays out some of the critical signs investigators are looking for. On one hand, you have true insanity, which often creeps in slowly, gradually, without any obvious motive. But on the other hand, someone pretending to be insane, that can appear really suddenly, maybe right after a crime, and there's almost always a clear reason for it: trying to get out of trouble. Getting this right is absolutely crucial for justice.
But, to really get a grip on how someone might fake insanity, we first have to understand how our own minds can fool us. And it all begins with our perception. Because when our senses lie to us, the truth can get twisted into something pretty dangerous.
So first up, we have illusions. Just like it says here, this is when your brain misinterprets something that is actually there. The classic example is perfect, right? You're walking at dusk, you see a stick on the ground, and for a split second, your heart jumps because you think it's a snake. The stick is real, but your brain's interpretation, it's just a little bit off. Now, a hallucination, that's a whole different ballgame. In this case, there is no external stimulus, nothing. The brain is literally creating a sensory experience out of thin air. And yeah, it could be seeing something that isn't there, but it could also be hearing voices, smelling smoke, or even feeling something touching your skin when you're completely alone.
This slide just nails the key difference. With an illusion, an object is present. Your brain just gets it wrong. With a hallucination, there's no object at all. Your brain is the creator. So what happens when these false perceptions aren't just fleeting mistakes, but they become beliefs you'd swear are true? When those false perceptions start to dig in and become a core part of someone's reality, they can morph into false beliefs. And this is where we step into the world of delusions, a really serious disorder of thought that has massive implications inside a courtroom. See, a delusion isn't just being wrong about something. It is an unshakable, deeply held belief that flies in the face of all facts and evidence. It's like a belief that's set in concrete, even when a bulldozer of proof tries to knock it down. And living in that kind of false reality, well, it can have some really dangerous consequences.
This is one of the most common and frankly dangerous types of delusion. I mean, just try to imagine for a second that you genuinely believe, with every fiber of your being, that your own family is trying to kill you. From that point of view, a violent act might not feel like an attack. It might feel like a desperate act of self-defense against a threat that, to you, is terrifyingly real.
And then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have delusions of grandeur. This is when someone has a false belief about their own importance, thinking they're a secret celebrity or a powerful leader. It just goes to show you how vast and unpredictable this kind of thinking can be. Oftentimes, hallucinations and delusions are symptoms of a deeper mental disorder, like schizophrenia. And schizophrenia is sometimes described as a split between thought and emotion. This can lead to this really startling disconnect, where a person might describe something incredibly violent or tragic with a totally flat affect or even with pleasure, because their internal world is operating by a completely different set of rules.
Okay, so we've been navigating the shifting, often confusing landscapes of the mind. Now we're going to leave that world behind and enter a place where the evidence is cold, hard, and unchangeable: the morgue. Here, the body tells its own story, and a forensic pathologist is the one who knows how to translate it.
Let's think about asphyxia, or suffocation. It's not this instant thing you see in the movies. A good pathologist can actually trace the story of a person's final minutes just by looking for specific clues. That first stage, the desperate struggle for air, can leave signs of a fight. The second stage, convulsions caused by a lack of oxygen, can cause its own unique injuries. And that final stage, exhaustion, well, that tells the story of the body finally giving up. Each stage is a piece of the puzzle.
Now we're turning to a corner of pathology where things get really, really cool, where nature itself becomes part of the investigative team. We're talking about the tiniest organisms that can reveal huge details about a crime, long after all the other evidence is gone.
So, get this. These little guys are called diatoms. They're microscopic algae that you can find in pretty much any body of water. The theory goes that if a person drowns, they inhale water, and these diatoms get into their bloodstream and travel to their internal organs. So finding them deep inside the bone marrow could mean the person was alive when they hit the water. But here's the catch. This method is pretty controversial because these things are everywhere, and sometimes they can be found in people who haven't drowned at all, which creates a real risk of getting it wrong.
Now, this is a true natural clock. Forensic entomology is the science of using insects to figure out the time of death. It's amazing. Flies are drawn to a body within minutes, and their life cycle is incredibly predictable. By looking at what kinds of insects are there and what stage of development they're in, investigators can build a timeline with shocking accuracy, even when all the other methods have failed.
So we've explored the fractured realities of the mind and the silent stories told by the body. But what's the big takeaway? Why does all of this matter? Well, when it comes to the pursuit of justice, it means everything. Let's bring it all home. Was the suspect really suffering from a delusion that drove their actions? Can the stages of asphyxia tell us exactly how a murder happened? Can the life cycle of a fly provide that one missing piece of the timeline? These are the kinds of questions that make or break a case, and every single answer gets us one step closer to the truth.
And so, at the end of it all, we're left with this question. We have these incredible scientific tools to analyze the physical evidence a body leaves behind. But how do we ever truly, completely understand the complex labyrinth of a living mind? Which one is the greater challenge? It's a question that really lies at the very heart of forensic science. Thanks for joining me on this one.